Let's take a second right now to have a moment of silence for Washington Mystics owner Shelly Johnson, who suggested that the WNBA as a whole should have been on the cover of Time magazine instead of just Caitlin Clark.
Two statements, 2 months apart, one shocking revelation of hypocrisy. Sheila Johnson, owner of the Washington Mystics, publicly downplayed Caitlin Clark's Time Athlete of the Year honor, arguing that the entire WNBA deserved recognition instead of just one player. But as we'll see, her actions tell a completely different story.
However, a lot of people are noticing the fact that we all remember Sheila Johnson, right? The Mystics owner that went on CNN that was none too pleased about Caitlin Clark having received the Time Magazine Athlete of the Year. She made absurd comments.
Actions speak louder than words. Johnson's recent announcement about fever games has sent shockwaves through the basketball world. The same owner who claimed Caitlin Clark wasn't solely responsible for the league's growing popularity is now making business decisions that prove the opposite. The staggering numbers behind her latest move reveal the truth Johnson doesn't want you to hear. Stick around, we've got all the receipts, including a certain award where Johnson stayed eerily silent. Ready? Let's dive in.
Caitlin Clark was named Athlete of the Year. Why couldn't they have put the whole WNBA on that cover and said, the WNBA is the league of the year because of all the talent that we have?
Remember when a WNBA owner took aim at the most electrifying thing to happen to the league in years? That's exactly what happened when Sheila Johnson, owner of the Washington Mystics, criticized Caitlin Clark's Time Athlete of the Year honor during a CNN interview. But as we'll uncover, her words didn't match her actions.
It has taken the WNBA almost 28 years to get to the point where we are now. And this year, something clicked with the WNBA. And it's because of the draft of the players that came in. It's just not Caitlin Clark. It's Reese. We have so much talent out there that has been unrecognized. And I don't think we can just pin it on one player.
Let's break down what Johnson actually said because her words reveal something telling. She argued that Time should have recognized the entire WNBA instead of honoring Clark individually. Think about that for a second. An individual achievement award meant to celebrate one standout performer should have been divided among over 100 players? That logic doesn't add up.
Because when you just keep singling out one player, it creates hard feelings.
This raises a critical question. Was Johnson genuinely concerned about team morale, or was there something else driving her comments? She didn't stop there. She suggested there was a racial component to Clark's recognition, saying, "I've seen so many players of color who are equally talented but never got the recognition they deserved." With that, Johnson turned what could have been a discussion about individual versus collective recognition into something far more divisive.
There has been, this phrase has been couched, hasn't it? The Caitlin Clark effect. Why do you think that has been the case?
Well, I want to be very diplomatic about this. It's just the structure of the way media plays out race. I'm going to be very honest. I feel really bad because I've seen so many players of color that are equally as talented, and they never got the recognition that they should have. And I think right now, it is time for that to happen.
What makes Johnson's criticism even more puzzling is how it ignores the measurable impact Clark has had on the league. The numbers don't lie. When the Fever played against the Mystics last year, attendance averaged around 20,000 fans. Yet, when other teams visited the Mystics, they struggled to fill even 5,000 seats. That's not just a bump, it's a seismic shift in fan engagement.
Balls and more money to the sport. So instead of downplaying the magnitude of who she is and what she's brought, enjoy the ride and take advantage of it.
Clark's influence goes beyond just filling seats. Her presence sparked a threefold increase in attendance for Fever games across the board, and jersey sales skyrocketed by an astonishing 1,000%. These aren't just impressive stats, they're transformational figures that show how one player can elevate an entire league's profile and financial prospects.
While the NBA's ratings continue to drop over 30% as they try to figure out who was going to fill the shoes of LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and Steph Curry, the WNBA has a golden goose sitting in their league and has done, it's gotten better, but has done everything to kind of discredit the momentum and eyeballs she's brought to this game.
What's most revealing is how Clark responded to the criticism. Instead of firing back or getting drawn into drama, she took the high road. During her Time interview, Clark emphasized mutual respect among players and dismissed any suggestions of jealousy within the league. No defensiveness, no counterattacks, just quiet confidence in her journey.
Caitlin is someone who has, if you look at it, done everything you're supposed to do and has been criticized along every step of the way. Again, she's damned if she does, and she's damned if she doesn't.
The contrast between Johnson's remarks and Clark's response speaks volumes. One sought to minimize an individual achievement, framing it as potentially harmful. The other showed grace under pressure and refused to be baited into division. Was Johnson's criticism really about protecting team unity, or was it the first sign of a deeper pattern?
I mean, honestly, we know how this owner feels about Caitlin Clark. Let us not forget this.
That pattern became crystal clear when A'ja Wilson was named one of Time's Women of the Year. Suddenly, Johnson's passionate arguments about recognizing the entire league vanished. Where was her concern about hard feelings when it wasn't Caitlin Clark in the spotlight? The silence was deafening.
Time magazine backed themselves into a confusing corner with their latest blunder. This is a Whiskey Riff right here. When they crowned their Athlete of the Year last year, they did the right thing by giving the title to Indiana Fever star Caitlin Clark. Surprisingly, there was some backlash to the decision, which is absurd, with many in the WNBA saying the award should have been given to the entire league instead of just...
Wilson's honor placed her in the same position Clark had been in months earlier, a singular player being celebrated for her achievements. This was the perfect moment for Johnson to stand up for her supposed principles about team recognition over individual accolades. But she didn't say a word. Her silence revealed what was really motivating her earlier criticism.
Mystics owner went on CNN and was like, I think it would have been nice if they'd have put the entire league on the front cover of Time magazine as Athlete of the Year. Well, there wasn't but one athlete that was moving all the numbers. All right, that was influencing all the money. Gate revenue, attendance, ratings, all the stuff we've talked about. Right? There's only one. Right, wrong, or indifferent? Just one. Plays in Indiana, wears 22. Right?
Please stop taking steps backwards. Her frustration reflected what many players were thinking. If the concern was truly about fairness and team unity, why did that concern only apply when Clark was in the spotlight?
Unlike Johnson's claims about players developing resentment, Wilson's achievement was widely celebrated throughout the league. Players supported her, not resented her. This stark contrast reveals something troubling about Johnson's original stance. Her silence suggests her initial outrage had little to do with protecting team unity and everything to do with who was receiving the recognition.
Well, keep in mind, this is a business. When Nike signs a athlete, okay, they want to get an ROI, return on their investment. How do they do that? Because that athlete resonates. You understand that Caitlin Clark, her jerseys, her apparel, if she has an apparel deal, her shoes will sell.
Let's be real. If Johnson genuinely believed individual accolades created division, her response to both honors would have been identical. The fact that she only spoke out against Clark's recognition while staying silent about Wilson's award reveals a troubling selectivity. This isn't about principles, it's about targeting. Why do you think Johnson is selectively targeting Clark? Let us know in the comments.
The Mystics were moving the two games that were coming to their town with Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. They were moving them to Baltimore. All right, now, in case you're wondering, that Mystics home arena that they play on normally and brag about selling it out is only 4,200 fans. I mean, come on. 4,200 fans.
Moving from a 4,200 seat arena to one holding 14,000. The mask of principled leadership slipped to reveal something far more transparent. a business decision that contradicted everything she claimed to stand for.
Caitlin Clark comes to town. They move it to a 14,000 seat arena. I mean, that's nearly, what is that? That's nearly 10,000 more fans.
Johnson's recent announcement about relocating Mystics Fever games to CFG Bank Arena in Baltimore speaks volumes. This move triples the venue's capacity, jumping from 4,200 seats to nearly 14,000. What's revealing isn't just the change, it's the selective application. Johnson didn't announce a permanent move for all games or even for multiple top teams. This change targeted one specific team, the Indiana Fever, featuring the very player Johnson had downplayed.
The gate prices, all right, the gate prices for the game will actually go up. In other words, just like that preseason game, they has got tickets for $4,500. A run-of-the-mill game like this, even we all know Caitlin Clark tickets are expensive.
The financial implications are impossible to ignore. With nearly 10,000 additional tickets available per game, all likely to sell at premium prices, the revenue potential is staggering. This move is driven by the drawing power of the player Johnson claimed wasn't solely responsible for the league's popularity. The hypocrisy is undeniable.
Raising the amount of money it will cost to get into this game, she may end up lining her own pockets with more money because the gate prices may go way up. And she's going to force Caitlin Clark fans to pay additional money to get into the game by putting in a bigger, but not as big venue.
Recognize that Dominic's move all of their games there? Their owner didn't seem to want to give Caitlin any credit for the women's basketball movement, but yet she's good with extra profits from Fever games.
As one fan put it, wait, why just the Fever games? Why not every game? Or are you choking on your words about the face of the league? These aren't just random critics, they're WNBA supporters who see the inconsistency between criticizing individual recognition while cashing in on individual star power.
This year, something clicked in the WNBA because of the draft and the players that came in. It's not just Caitlin Clark. Yes, it is. You telling me somebody spending $4,500 for an Angel Reese game? Get the bleep out of here. Yeah, the mother bleep out of here. It's Angel Reese. She continued. We have so much talent out there that has been unrecognized, and I don't think we can pin it on just one player.
Johnson isn't alone in making venue adjustments for Fever games. Other teams have done the same. But those teams didn't first go on national television to minimize Clark's impact. They didn't suggest that recognizing one player creates hard feelings. They simply acknowledged reality. Caitlin Clark drives unprecedented interest in women's basketball. Johnson's actions expose the hollowness of her previous statements.
I don't agree with the Mystics owner saying that the whole WNBA should have been named up, because that's not true. The whole WNBA benefited this year from the viewership increase.
What does this say about the state of WNBA leadership? Can league executives continue downplaying individual stars while privately building business strategies around them? The disconnect between public messaging and private decision-making creates a credibility problem. Johnson's comments didn't just undermine Clark's achievements, they created unnecessary division in a league that should be celebrating its rising stars.